Hey guys, in this video then we're looking at shortcuts you can take that are going to save you a great deal of time with developing as a speaker, and shortcuts that you definitely can't take. And there's no shortcuts that you can take. In fact, they can make it worse. In fact, John Maxwell says the longest distance between 2 points is a shortcut. That's easy for us to imagine, isn't it? You're trying to go from here to here as quickly as you can. You end up going all over the place and it ends up taking 10 times longer. So we don't want that. We don't want to take those type of shortcuts. But without a doubt, learning from other people's experiences is the fastest way for us to get great results. So let's look then at some of the shortcuts that you can take that are really going to help you. Number one, modeling excellence, looking at great speakers, people like Nick Vujicic, Les Brown, John Maxwell, of course. If you look at great speakers, if you work with great speakers and see what they're doing, it takes the lid off your mind and you're like, oh my goodness, I didn't even know that was possible. And you see all of these different directions that you can move in, different levels that you can attain using different techniques, and very often they'll tell you how you can do that. So these are shortcuts because you can take, because you don't need to work it all out for yourself. You can see how some of the world's best speakers, people that are getting results that you want, how they're doing it. So modeling excellence in others is a great way to save the time of trying to work it all out for yourself. An obvious place where you can save a great deal of time is with great content templates. So templates for, let's say you're doing a keynote. If you have a great template for a keynote, we have your open, your hook, your three main parts of your body, overcoming objections, testimonials in story form, your close, how you're going to sell, what you're going to do afterwards. If all of those things are kind of mapped out and you're just like filling them in, it saves you an enormous amount of time in putting together your keynote and in trying to work out what works. And it ends up being a little bit like painting by numbers, you know, what colors to use where, how big they have to be, and which bit leads to the next bit. And it just overall, it gives you a great result in a fraction of the time. Now, there's still a lot of that process that you do need to work on, but you don't need to work out the format for the keynote and which bit goes where. So that can save you a great deal of time. Another one is if you've got a framework to follow, so you know where to spend the time. Again, you still got to do the work. There's no shortcut for some of the things that you need to work through, but you know where to spend the time. Is it on scripting? Is it on memorizing? Is it in bullet points? Is it on cue cards? Is it what to do when you forget what you're going to say? If you know which bits are the most important things to focus, then you know where to spend your time. You don't need to work it all out for yourself. Or you don't need to do everything and then end up spending 10 times as long or never being ready to go in front of an audience. So a framework to follow is huge. And then also where to look, where to find great content, what makes great content, where to find your stories. This is huge. Everyone has stories. Most people don't know where to look to find them. Most people don't know what to do with them when they do find them, what makes a good story and how they can turn it into something that is going to be helpful to the audience. So knowing where to look and what to look for can save you an enormous amount of time. So these are all things that you can do to save time. Shortcuts you can take. What about shortcuts you can't take then? Well, shortcuts you can't take, probably the biggest area and most disappointing for most people is regard to mindset. Many people have anxiety about speaking, don't they? So they're like, oh, you know, if I could just learn a secret, if you could wave a magic wand, if you could just get rid of my fear of speaking, that would be great. You can't pay any amount of money for someone just to remove your anxiety about speaking. That's something that you need to move through. There's no secret you can read. You can't collect enough information. None of that is going to work. You need to move through the process of developing your self-confidence, and your anxiety will dissipate. It's not a difficult process to work through. There's lots of videos on this channel about overcoming fear, but you do need to work through that. There's no shortcut that you can take for that. Similarly, being bulletproof in the delivery, looking natural and at home in front of the audience, looking like you belong in front of the audience. You can't pay for that and get a secret. You can't collect information that's going to do that. You actually have to work through the process for that as well. Similarly, being resilient in front of an audience, no matter what happens. Fire alarm goes off, somebody drops a drink, somebody stands up and shouts something, or anything else, lights go off, projector goes off, anything else that can go wrong. Any of those things you need to work through and develop those skills. In fact, all of the things that you can't take shortcuts in really come under your growth and development as a speaker and as a human being in many ways. So these things no one can do for you. You have to move through the process of growth. And so if you do that, then you're going to find that everything gets easier. But if you try and shortcut that, growth, you're going to find that everything takes longer. It's very disappointing, very frustrating, and you'll probably give up. So it comes down to best practices, yes, but actually putting them into practice. Good best practices, average practices, or poor practices, you'll get better if you put them into practice. So sharing best practices makes a big difference, but you have to experiment and discover what works for you. So that's different from preparing the information, putting it into practice. So it's actually doing it. That's what makes the difference. And if you do that, then everything gets easier the more you do. And if you don't, you'll always be frustrated. So quick summary then, shortcuts you can take. Modeling excellence is a great idea. Content templates is huge. Frameworks to follow so you know where to work and where to look to find your best bits. All of those things, they're shortcuts that people can help you with and will make a big difference for you. The shortcuts you can't take with regard to mindset and how you feel, being bulletproof in the delivery, being resilient in front of an audience, basically your growth. All of those things you need to work through a proven process to acquire, to achieve. That's it for this week. If that's been useful to you, we'd love it if you subscribed at speaking360.com. Just pop your email in there and we'll send you a video like this every week. Thanks, guys. Take care. Bye-bye. God bless.